It's 3 a.m. You're staring at the ceiling. Your brain's running through every conversation you've had this week, plus a few from 2019 for good measure. You check your phone, 3:17. You do the maths on how many hours of sleep you've got left, and that maths makes everything worse. You call this insomnia. You think there's something wrong with you. For 99% of human history, this exact moment looked completely different. You're not in a room with a door. You're sleeping in a group, a dozen people or so, close together near a fire. That fire isn't just for warmth, it's light in a world with no other light, and it keeps things with teeth at a distance. And fires die down, so through the night, someone's always half aware. Not on guard duty, nothing that organised. Just in a natural gap between sleeps, you stir, notice the fire's gone low, lean over, add a branch. The embers flare for a second. You watch it settle. Here's how we actually know this gap existed. In 2001, a historian called Ekirch went through hundreds of diaries, letters, court records, and medical texts from before the 1800s. Over and over, in completely unrelated sources from completely different countries, he found people casually mentioning their first sleep and second sleep, not as a problem, as a normal part of the night, the same way you'd mention breakfast and lunch. So that gap was real. And it wasn't just for the fire. Look up and there's nothing between you and the sky. No streetlights, no glow from a nearby town, nothing. The stars aren't a few scattered points, they're everywhere, thick enough to look almost solid in places. For most of human history, this is just what the night looked like, every single night, to everyone. Lying there with nothing to do but look up at that is probably where a huge number of star stories came from. People awake for an hour with absolutely nothing else to look at. Sometimes the gap was for talking. Quiet voices, half asleep, the kind of conversation you only have in the dark. Maybe someone describes a dream from their first sleep, still vivid, not yet faded, and someone else murmurs back. Sometimes it was hands needing something to do. Someone picks up a half-finished tool, works at it a bit by the light of the embers. Not urgent, just because being awake with empty hands doesn't sit right. Now, here's a finding from much closer to home. In 2015, researchers studied 3 modern hunter-gatherer groups, the Hadza in Tanzania, the San in Namibia, the Tsimane in Bolivia. 3 continents, 0 contact with each other, 0 contact with the modern world. They tracked them for over 1,000 nights using sleep monitors. The big finding wasn't that these people slept brilliantly. They actually got less sleep than the average person in the UK, around 6.5 hours. The big finding was this: their languages don't have a word for insomnia. When researchers tried to explain the concept, they genuinely struggled to understand what was being described. Only 1.5 to 2.5% reported anything resembling trouble sleeping. In industrialized countries, that number is 10 to 30%. Less sleep than you. Way less anxiety about it. So the problem was never really the waking up. The problem is what you've been taught to think it means. Picture that ancient scene one more time. You stir in the dark. You can hear breathing around you. Close, steady, familiar. Somewhere nearby, low voices. Maybe a baby fusses and someone shushes it without fully waking. You're awake, but you're not alone. There's a fire, there's a sky full of stars, and nothing needs to happen. After a while, your eyes get heavy again and you go back down. Compare that to your 3 a.m.
You're in a room, by yourself, in total silence. Or worse, silence except for your own thoughts. No fire, no breathing. Nothing telling your nervous system, "We're fine, we've got this." Just you, the dark, and a phone. In the 1990s, a researcher called Wehr ran an experiment showing how close to the surface this old pattern still is. He took modern people and removed all artificial light from their evenings. No lamps, no screens, nothing after sunset, for weeks. Within a few weeks, every single one naturally split their sleep into 2 blocks. 4 hours, an hour or 2 awake, then 4 more. Nobody told them to. Their bodies just did it, the second the modern world got out of the way.
So what actually changed? Gaslighting spread through cities in the early 1800s. Then, Edison's light bulb in 1879 made artificial light cheap and everywhere. Evenings stretched. People stayed up later, working, socializing, scrolling eventually, and the natural drift into that first sleep got pushed later and later, until there wasn't room for two sleeps anymore. The two blocks got squeezed into one. But the wakeful period didn't disappear, it just got shoved into the middle of that one compressed block, and landed on someone lying alone, in the dark, with no fire and nothing to gently watch. Then we made it worse. Now you've got an app telling you your sleep score was bad last night, which makes you more anxious about sleeping tonight, which makes your sleep worse, which the app then dutifully reports back. There's a name for this now: orthosomnia. Anxiety caused specifically by tracking your sleep. You're not broken, you're running roughly 300,000 years of sleep architecture in a world that's had electric light for about 150 years and a sleep app for about 10. They woke up at 3 a.m, surrounded by people, near a fire, and went back to sleep without a second thought. You wake up at 3 a.m, alone, in the dark, and immediately go to war with yourself. Maybe the fix isn't another app. Maybe it's just turning the phone face down and letting yourself lie there for a bit, the way humans have done for almost the entirety of our existence, long before anyone decided that was something to fix.